All right, today's a different day. We traveled with our friends, the Purdy's, to a town called Shell. It's about an hour away from Banos. Stay tuned, there's more. Now, Shell gets its name from the Shell Oil Company. There was once a belief that there was oil here near the Amazon River Basin in Ecuador. But alas, there was no oil. But there were leftover plane strips for airplanes to fly in and out that the Shell Oil Company used. Right behind me, you can barely see it, there's like a little tower, and that was one of the towers that was used for the landing strip for airplanes. And some missionaries began to use this. Missionaries, there were Christian missionaries who came here in 1940, something like that, and something pretty tragic occurred not too far from here. In 1956, I believe, there was a martyrdom that occurred with 5 missionaries. Nate Saint and Jim Elliot are probably 2 of the most famous of those 5. We're here today at the Nate Saint House, established in 1948, and we're learning about the history of Nate Saint and the missionaries who came here many years ago. So in 1948, these 5 missionaries took a plane, about a 25-minute ride in a plane to a village here in Ecuador. There were several different trips on that plane, I think just to drop off gifts, things of that nature, to villagers. And in 1956, those 5 pilots, they were speared to death. There's a movie that actually depicts this. It's called The End of the Spear. And these 5 men, they had wives. This is the kitchen, actually, that was used to inform the wives of the 5 men of their martyrdom, right here. So this is actually a museum here at the Nate Saint House, and there is old articles and artifacts and pictures that detail the events. Here's the original Life magazine from 1956 that depicts the international news coverage that occurred from the martyrdom of those 5 missionaries. If you like redemption, the villagers, where Nate Saint and Jim Elliot and the 3 other men were trying to reach, they're now believers. They're Christians, and now there's a partnership where these different tools and pieces of jewelry are made by the villagers. The 5 men were killed by a spear, which is the name of the book and the movie that was famous, End of the Spear. And now you can purchase spears here, and the money goes right back to that village here in Ecuador. What's crazy about coming to this house is it's a reminder, I think, of just redemption and positive stories. If you're like me, you have questions, you have doubts, especially about faith issues. What's amazing about the 5 wives of the 5 martyrs is that after their husbands were murdered by these spears from these villagers in Ecuador over 50 years ago, the wives actually felt a conviction to go live amongst the villagers. And I'm not so sure I would have done that. It's convicting. The wives of these men went and lived with the villagers and just tried to love them, and that's pretty awesome. Jim Elliot's son, or Nate Saint's son, one of the sons, he actually is friends, built a friendship with one of the men who murdered his father. That is powerful. I don't care who you are, but that's powerful. And it's just a good reminder for us all, I think, to forgive and love.